Hey everybody, Knox Hutchinson here again, and today I want to talk to you about some of the lessons that I learned throughout my IT career. As you may already know because you watched my video on how I went from sales to IT in just about 5 years, I went from a sales job to the director of IT and a trainer at CBT Nuggets in, well, just about 5 years. So I want to talk to you about some of the key lessons that I learned and give you 5 tips that I think are really going to help you get going in your IT career. Whether you're just trying to break into it and get started, or if you're trying to get that next leg up, this is what I would say to you. Step 1, remove your ego from the equation. This was one of the hardest lessons that I had to learn because for a long time I was really struggling and I never understood why I couldn't get ahead. I felt like I was a really talented person and I felt like I was a hard worker and that I deserved some sort of promotion or some sort of chance, and I just never got it. So I got bitter and I kind of blamed the environment around me. I blamed people around me, and really I needed to check my ego. I needed to look in the mirror and say, the only way you're going to get better is to get better. So what I would recommend to you is be really honest with yourself right out of the gate and ask yourself if you truly deserve the job that you want. Because for me, I was applying for jobs that I just didn't have the qualifications. And I felt like if they just gave me the job, then I could get the qualifications, but that's not how it works. You have to have the qualifications. So accepting that fact that I'm going to have to put forth a little bit of effort into learning and to getting the skills that they require up front, that moved me on to the next step. Now the next step, number 2, that I would recommend is gauge how bad do you really want this. There is a really famous motivational speaker named Eric Thomas, and I'm going to put a link to the video down in the description below. That video changed my life. But to paraphrase it, there's a difference between wanting something and wanting something bad. And for me, I only wanted something between the hours of 8 to 5. I didn't want to get better. I didn't want that next job bad. See, I would say that like, oh, I want it so bad, I'm going to grind so hard, but then 5 o'clock hit and I'd go home and I'd watch TV or play World of Warcraft. Whatever the case was, I didn't actually want it bad. So when I watched Eric's video, it really sank in that I need to be able to make sacrifices in order to get the dream that I wanted, in order to have the dream job and the dream life that I wanted. So I had to give up things like video games. I had to give up partying on the weekend. I had to give up TV in order to grind, in order to study, in order to learn, in order to better myself. Now, step 3, once you've come to terms with the fact that you're going to have to get better, you've got to realize, like, I got to seek in myself, that I got to find a way to self-improve, and I've decided that I want it bad. Step 3 is to execute. That's when you start attacking studying. Whether you're going into a development role where you're going to be building applications or websites, choose a project that you really want to go after and work on it. Work on it for months. Do whatever it takes to get the skills that you need so that when you apply for a job, you can put this end product in front of someone and say, I learned how to do this all on my own. Or for me, when I actually applied for one of my gigs that I got, which was really cool, I had no skills whatsoever. But when I rolled into that interview, I was able to pull up my cell phone, VPN into my house, and then pull up my vCenter environment because I had a little home lab, and I was able to show them I've never touched a production vCenter in my life, but I want to know how it works so bad that I went out and I bought a server on eBay for like $300, and I bought the vCenter licensing, the vCenter Essentials licensing, and spun up my own environment. And in the process, I learned how networking works too. It took months to get to that point, but I got that job. Now, step 4, you've got the job at that point. That's awesome. You are now in the role. Don't get complacent. Never stop learning. Always seek the next step. Always seek to get better. Don't get overwhelmed. This is one of the hardest parts, is because once you've got the job, you then kind of fall back into old mentalities here where you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to learn on the job at this point. And as long as I learn the nuances to this job, like, oh, for this client, do that, but for that client, do this. And if you want a VPN over here, you got to use AnyConnect. And if you want a VPN over there, you got to use the Windows VPN. All the nuances, you get wrapped up in that and you forget what it's like to go back to your core studying functionalities and getting better and better and better. Don't stop at CCNA, go for CCNP. Don't stop at MCSA, go for MCSE. Always be getting better. That's going to be step number 4. In step number 5, if step number 1 is the most important one, then step number 5 is the second most important one. What is the one thing that you can do better than anyone else around you that requires no technical skill? Customer service. Always be focused on giving the end user, giving your customer, giving your coworker the best experience with you as possible. We read a book one time called Raving Fans at a previous job of mine. It's a tiny little book, but it's all about making a raving fan out of the people who chose to work with you. So that's what you can do immediately, day one, better than anybody else, focusing on making raving fans out of the people around you. That right there is what's going to get you a promotion, not technical skills. It's going to be being pleasant to be around. So those are the 5 tips that I would recommend to anyone who's trying to elevate their IT career. Thanks for stopping by. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. It really goes a long way for me, and I'll see you in the next one.